Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really profound and powerful text of mourning from the Shia Islamic tradition. It's a piece that's part historical testimony and, honestly, part heart-wrenching poem of grief. Okay, let's just jump right in with this line because it really captures the intense devotion at the heart of this text. I mean, these aren't just words of sadness, right? This is a vow. It's a promise of perpetual remembrance, a promise that no matter how much time passes, the scale of this tragedy will never, ever fade. So, what is this text that contains such powerful words? Well, its name translates to something like the Visitation from the Sacred Sanctuary, and believe me, it holds a very special place in Shia devotional literature. It's known as one of the most detailed and, frankly, one of the most emotional accounts of the events of Ashura. The source material we're looking at calls it a sorrowful ode and a moving elegy. It's really meant to be this immersive journey into the final hours of Imam Hussein's life. And this is the part that makes it so uniquely personal and poignant. You see, the narrator isn't just recounting some historical event. No, he's speaking directly to his martyred ancestor, almost as if he's standing right there, watching this tragedy unfold across the centuries. All right, so let's take a look at how this lament is actually built. It isn't just some emotional outcry, it's meticulously structured, and it all begins with this long, deeply meaningful series of greetings. Now, what's so fascinating here is how this structure gives the Ziyarat this huge cosmic scope. I mean, by starting with greetings to prophets like Adam, Noah, Abraham, and Moses, the text immediately places the tragedy of Karbala within the entire timeline of sacred history. It's suggesting this was a loss not just for one family, but for the whole prophetic tradition. This is where things get incredibly visceral. The narrator doesn't just say, greetings to your body. Instead, he addresses each wound, each desecrated part, one by one, forcing the person reciting it to create this really vivid mental image of the battle's brutal aftermath. Every single one of these lines is designed to paint a picture. This one is a direct reference to the moment of his martyrdom, when his beard was said to be stained with his own blood. And this one recalls the moment after he fell from his horse, injured and on the ground of Karbala. It's a detail that's meant to evoke this profound sense of humiliation and helplessness. With this line, you can feel the shift. It marks the transition from the martyrdom itself to the horrific parade that came after. It's acknowledging that the violence didn't just end with his death. It continued as his head was displayed like a trophy. Now, before even recounting the battle itself, the Ziyarat does something really important. It first establishes exactly who was lost. It doesn't just show Imam Hussein as a victim, it paints this detailed portrait of his character, his virtues, his role in the community. The text just systematically lists his qualities. He's remembered as a pillar of the community, someone who upheld religious rights, fought corruption, and acted as a protector for the most vulnerable. The point is to emphasize that he wasn't just a political figure, but a true spiritual and ethical leader. So, after painting this incredible portrait of his life and his character, that's when we get to the emotional core of the Ziyarat, a graphic, unflinching, step-by-step description of the battle, told from the perspective of his grieving descendant. The narration builds this terrifying moment-by-moment account of the escalating horror. It describes him being surrounded, how arrows and stones rained down, how he was struck with swords, and how, after finally falling to the ground, the enemy's horses trampled his body. And it's this level of raw, explicit detail that is just so crucial. The source material points out that no other account describes the final devastating moments with such brutal clarity. This isn't abstract history, it's a personal testimony designed to convey the absolute barbarity of what happened. And the Ziyarat makes it painfully clear that the suffering went on long after the battle. It describes the women and children of Hussein's family being chained, their hands tied to their necks, marched through deserts and cities with their faces burned by the sun. The humiliation was just a continuation of the violence. So, after describing the earthly tragedy in such devastating detail, the text just dramatically zooms all the way out. It portrays the martyrdom of Imam Hussein not just as a human tragedy, but as this cataclysmic event that threw the entire universe into a state of grief. What the source explains is that by listing all of these elements, the Ziyarat frames Hussein's death not as some political assassination, but as an event that shook the very foundations of the cosmos. The Prophet Muhammad wept, the angels lamented, the heavens grieved. Even inanimate objects like the mountains and the sacred Kaaba mourned his loss. According to the Ziyarat, this wasn't just the murder of a man. It was an attempt to extinguish the very religion he embodied. The text basically says that with his death, concepts like prayer, fasting, and the difference between right and wrong were made meaningless, and the core message of the Quran itself was betrayed.
Okay, so you might be thinking, a text this powerful, this detailed, attributed to an unseen Imam centuries after the event, how reliable is it? And you know what? That's a fair question to ask.
Well, the source we're using addresses this head-on. It says the Ziyarat was transmitted through one of the Imam's special deputies, and then recorded by foundational scholars like Sheikh Mufid's and Ibn Mashadi. In his own book, Ibn Mashadi actually states that he only included narrations he considered authentic, which lends a lot of weight to its inclusion. So what's this number 10 all about? Well, the entire Ziyarat is structured into 10 distinct sections. This just shows how complete it is as a spiritual exercise. It's not some disorganized outpouring of grief, but a structured journey for the reciter, moving logically from reverence to vividly remembering the tragedy to reflecting on its cosmic impact, and finally, ending with prayer. So when you boil it all down, the Ziyarat is really doing two things at once. It acts as a historical record, preserving the details of the tragedy with this unparalleled clarity. But it's also a living document of faith and sorrow, allowing each new generation to connect with the event not as distant history, but as an immediate and deeply personal spiritual reality.
And that leaves you with a really powerful thought, doesn't it? For believers, this text is a way to do more than just remember an event. It's a way to experience its enduring spiritual reality. It collapses time and space, inviting the person reading it to stand alongside the prophets and angels and to share in a sorrow that is believed to echo throughout all of creation.